Scrappy Peeps, Susanna here today for ThermOWeb, and I'm popping in to share with you this layout created using some flock transfer sheets and some adhesive from ThermOWeb. I used those flock transfer sheets to create that watermelon on the top there and the bottom. So my first part of this is a tutorial to show you how you're going to create that watermelon out of flock. So I have a stencil, but really all you have to do is cut a circle, and then the rind, like I've done there, I'm going to trace that shape using my stencil, is just the bottom, let's say, eighth of the watermelon in green, and then the innard, the pink or the red, is the inner part of that same half of the stencil, and then you have black seeds. So what I'm doing on each of these is I'm just tracing my template onto the back of the flock so that you can see it, and then I am literally just going to fussy cut it, and it's easy fussy cutting because you have the template of what you're going to cut there, and it's just a half of a circle really. And what you'll see that I do later on in the process video of this is that I am actually going to back it in white, so that where that gap exists between the green rind and the flesh of the watermelon, it was going to overlap something, and I didn't want you to see what it was overlapping, so I am going to back that with just white cardstock. So what I've done here is I've used my template, and with a pencil again on the back of the black, I am just cutting out the seeds of the watermelon, and there will be 7. You don't have to use a template for this, really. It's just kind of like a teardrop, and so honestly it probably would have been much easier if I had done that. So some tips that I'm going to give you when you're working with flock are make sure you try not to get your nail into the flock. Make sure you also try not to set anything on top of the flock, because that can flatten the flock and leave indentations in it. Also, when you pick things up, you probably don't want to do so leading with your nail, because that also leaves a print in it. So I wanted a little bit of shadow on the rind, so I am using some of a Distress Oxide ink and my inker to just ink that up so that you have that gradation in the rind. You don't need to do that if you don't want to. It just adds a little bit more depth to it. Then I'm using my liquid adhesive, also from ThermOWeb. I love this stuff, especially with the metal tip applicator, and I am using that Ultra Bond to get the black seeds on there. So you can see the one that I've completed, and this is my second one, and they are going to be embellishments on my layout, which I will show you in the next part of this video, which will be the process video, having just shown you the tutorial of how to make that watermelon. So don't they look awesome? I can't wait for you to see the finished layout. I think they look great. So these are pictures of my son last year eating watermelon. To me, there's nothing that screams screams summer more than watermelon. So I want that black border. This is a piece of crepe paper. I am just busting through some stash here. I have a lot of stuff as I've cleaned up my room, and so I am really just trying to use up goodies. So I gutted out that crepe paper. Now I have white cardstock, and I'm going to just cut that down so that you can see the frame, that black frame that will go around the outside of the layout. Now I want to do a little bit of mixed media. I'm going to use some shimmers because I want that shine, and I'm just going to use different hues of red to get a little bit of red where I know I want the title to be. So you can see I've already cut the title. Again, those are 2 different pieces and 2 different collections of Echo Park. Again, old Echo Park, and then I'm going to use white cardstock because I know I'm going to put that white on top of this red watermelon-y sort of background that I'm going to create, and that will form the title there. So I'm starting off with a lighter shade of red. I was using my water brush, as you can see there, originally, and it just wasn't giving me the density of the color that I wanted, so I went with a larger brush, and I wanted to have a watercolor effect, so I added a lot more water to give it that effect. This shade of red that I'm using from Shimmers unfortunately has dried out, but it is brought back to life very nicely with some water, so you can see how it just looks like blobs, and I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to put some extra water on that, and you can see how that sort of melds it in together. One of the things you have to remember when you're playing with mixed media, when you're playing with shimmers and watercolor, is the look that you get when you're finished is not going to be the same look as when it's actually dry. So can you see how it's a little more melded into each other there? So I've got, that is some dilutions, and this is Nouveau. Those are just sprays. I want to add some droplets to that, and I wanted black. The Nouveau was the gray, so you'll see me come in later with some black. So this is just a corner. This is some stripes, again, from Echo Park. These are all different collections, but I had chosen pink, green, shades of green, and red as my color palette, obviously to go with the watermelon. And I wanted brighter colors because the flock is really bright, and I wanted that the hues to be of similar tone there. So this is just black acrylic paint that I am watered down in order to be able to get some black splotches in my watermelon juice mix. That's what it looks like. It's like watermelon juice that's dripped onto the page to me. So 2 pictures, they're 2 different sizes. This one is 4x6, and then the other one I believe is 5x3 maybe. And I'm going to back them again with these colors that stick with the color scheme here. It's kind of the reverse of a watermelon in that it's the green on the inside, the rind on the inside, and then the red on the outside, but it's okay. It's the color palette that I was going with, and I really like the way that the green closer to the inside of the photo pops the red in the photo and actually of the border there. So I'm going to back those, and just that one particular photo so that it pops. I like to have, when I have different size photos, I like to have just one of them have frames around it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Gina K adhesive, dot adhesive, to stick that down. And I love that you can still use Gina K on top of mixed media, and it still has a really good strong bond with the adhesive. So I'm going to pop this in the corner and then play around with where that second photo is going to go. Also from my stash, I have these really old Studio Calico transparencies, and I want to incorporate that because I know it'll pop with the white background on top of that mixed media. And I just want a little bit of it to add a little bit more texture to the page there. And I need to figure out where these watermelons are going to go. I need to create some balance because I only made 2 watermelons. If I had had a third one, it would have been too big on the page and wouldn't have fit. So I need to have a third pop of color in order to create balance on the page and create that visual triangle. And so that's why I'm messing with the placement of this. So earlier when I was showing you how to make these watermelons, I referred to how I was going to back it in cardstock, and this is what I was referring to. Again, because I'm going to overlay it over something, I wanted you to see that white all the way through. So this is a piece of transparency that I thought the diagonal stripes would match nicely with the diagonal stripes in the bottom right, but I end up not doing that because the watermelon's going to go there, and it didn't work with the different angles of the watermelon and the stripes there. So I am going to go with a piece of that transparency, just a little piece. I thought I was going to do these dots, but I actually end up going with, it's kind of a chevron zigzag behind it there. And that's just going to be just a really subtle layer behind that second photo there. And the Gina K adhesive is perfect for adhering that kind of stuff down. My roller ran out of adhesive, and so I happen to have 2. And so rather than refilling it, I am just using my second one there. So now I need to play with the placement of the title. You can see everything's kind of bottom heavy there. And so I am going to use black in the title. I'm going to use some LE Studio letters. You see them on the right hand side there. So again, using my Ultra Bond to get this down. When I have fine detail work, I love the metal tip that's on that Ultra Bond there. Don't forget that if you buy the metal tip, they're cheap. what I mean by cheap is they're cheap to buy, but oh so worth the money that you pay for them. But don't forget that you will need to use a pin in the metal tip. It does not come with a pin in order to not let your glue dry up and not clog. So the title here says, Hello, Sweet Slice of Summer. This is actually 2 cut files, and I've used Hello. So one of the cut files says Hello Sweet Summer, but this sweet is not the sweet that goes with summer and hello, I think. I will link you to that in the description box down below, what those 2 cut files that I used were from the Silhouette store. And again, that is Echo Park paper, and I don't know that I'm putting them down the way that the cut files came. I'm putting them the way that they are going to work in order to nestle it onto my page and fill that spot there. I do wish that I had done some mixed media, my red shimmers, a little bit further over to the right so that you could see the ER in summer, but you know what it's supposed to say, and when you're looking it up close, the shadow of the letters on the white on white, actually you can see it much better than you can with me working here. So this is the black that I was referring to, again, just to tie in a little bit more black to the layout. I think it makes the title pop, and those are Ellie's Studio letters. I have a grundle of those, and they are used on a lot of layouts. So that is the bulk of the layout. Now it's just a matter of adding some fine details to this and still figuring out where that watermelon, that second slice of watermelon, is going to go. I like it on the stripes there, but I feel like I've got this heavy open space that needs to be filled on the right there. And this way, with it going across the 2 photos, it kind of creates this visual triangle between the watermelon on the top left to the watermelon in the middle, and then this cluster that I'm going to put here to the right of the photo. So I've pulled just a lot of Ellie's Studio goodies because I know I'm going to get those color hues that I'm looking for with the red and the different shades of green. And I am going to use a label from Ellie's Studio. I have the 2 there, but I really wanted something bigger for a bigger pop of red. And there we go. Perfect. And once it's got journaling in it, it really does provide that weighted balance with the 2 watermelons. So now I'm just going through the embellishments and adding a little something to this. I don't know what I was thinking, trying to put that on an angle. It was, yeah, I don't know. You know how sometimes you just have to try things and you're like, oh, what? What was I thinking? So I've committed to the placement of this watermelon, and I'm going to adhere that down. Again, I could have used my dot adhesive from Gina K, but I also, because of the flock, I really wanted a heavier bond, and that's why I went with that liquid adhesive there. What I like about this liquid adhesive is it doesn't warp things. What else? Let's see. So I'm toying with, again, I want a little bit more weight on that right-hand side. I know my journaling is going to add weight to that, but I'm just not sure how much, and I feel like I need another pop of black over there. So I will put in an Ellie's Studio sticker later. But while I'm mulling over what that is going to be, I'm using some Lawn Fawn stamps, and these are ants. And I realize after the fact, this is my deteriorating eye vision as I approach 50. I put the ants standing upside down. So my daughter called them an ant stand. Instead of a handstand, it's an ant stand. The top left ant is going to continue to do an ant stand, and then I will go in and fix those later, as well as put in some watermelon stickers. So enjoy the close-ups. If you have any questions about any of the ThermOWeb product that I used or anything else, please don't hesitate to leave them in the box down below. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well and staying cool this summer. Take care.